these are very, very interesting times. Well, as well, troubling times. And we see that we're coming out of a world pandemic, which is, we could slowly say, becoming an endemic. However, everywhere around the world has been struggling with how to deal with it and how to go forward. And one of the main problems that you have also talked about is vaccination, and the fact that only the richer countries, which come from the West, have access or full access to vaccinations. And I wanted to know what you think about the way that the USA as well as Europe have handled the whole vaccination situation, and how they have handled it with upcoming economies from the South.
Well, it's a major scandal, well understood, but it continues. The wealthy countries have pretty much monopolized the vaccines for themselves, and rather dramatically, uh, to a significant extent, have even refused to use them. So in the United States, which is the outlier in this case, barely 60% of the population is vaccinated, which is why the United States is suffering so severely, even as compared with other wealthy countries. But there's a strong campaign against vaccination, which has impeded efforts to deal with the crisis. This is also true to an extent in Europe. So, for example, in Europe, in early 2020, the main countries, Germany and France, had pretty much controlled the early stages of the disease. But then Europeans decided they wanted to take their summer vacations. So they went off partying, having fun, going to the beach. Naturally, there was a big surge afterwards. Uh, this has happened repeatedly. Nevertheless, back to your point, the rich countries have monopolized the vaccine. Uh, Regions like Africa, vaccination is very low. Uh, India has appeared to have a relatively low rate of infection, but that's very recently been challenged by Indian researchers who have discovered that there may have been about 3 million or so deaths in India, far beyond what's been reported, just because of lack of reporting and so on. Uh, when there's a pool of unvaccinated people, first of all, there are a great many deaths, so it's very cruel, but also it's suicidal for the West, because it's well understood that this is a pool for mutations to take place. Could be severe, Delta and Omicron, for example, and they'll feed back to the West. So it's a cruel and suicidal policy of myself first. Now, there have been efforts, popular efforts, to develop what's called a people's vaccine to ensure that vaccines will be available to everyone. There's an organization, COVAX, international organization, which is devoted to this, but it's come nowhere near meeting the conditions that it hoped to. Now, there are several factors in this. One of them is the insistence on the wealthy countries, with Germany in the lead in this case, to protect the exorbitant patent rights of the big pharmaceutical corporations. The World Trade Organization agreements, the so-called neoliberal globalization, provided extraordinary protections for major corporations, a patent regime which had never existed in the past. These are called free trade agreements. They're in fact highly interventionist. The TRIPS part, called intellectual property rights, patents basically, not only patents the products, but also the processes for constructing them, and for a very long period. If these regulations had been in force in earlier centuries, countries like England and the United States would never have developed. They were robbing superior technology of countries like India, China, Low Countries, and so on. Well, the protecting the process by which the vaccines are manufactured prevents pharmaceutical industries in other countries from producing them. There are many that could. India has a huge pharmaceutical industry. South Africa, Iran has a pharmaceutical industry. Many others could be producing them on their own. Now, there is a slight breakthrough in this. There's a very well-known health immunologist in Texas, Peter Hotez. His group at Texas University, along with a hospital, has apparently developed a vaccine comparable to Moderna and Pfizer, and they're offering it free, no conditions. Indian manufacturers have apparently begun to produce it. This could be a breakthrough, but what is shocking is the unwillingness of the wealthy countries to facilitate vaccination on a large scale throughout the global south, cruel and savage in itself and suicidal because of the consequences.
Thank you for watching Europe Matters Digest. Make sure to check our home channel for more, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.